Okay.
Okay. So we can start.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Hello, friends. You're welcome again to the YouTube channel with chats. It's been a long while because we've been trying to also get settled down in new environment and not quite easy for some time now. But notwithstanding, we're hopefully going to have a very great moment today with a friend, a colleague, someone that I know will be able to share light on a very important topic today. And so I'm actually welcoming every one of you again back to WeChat. Thank you for staying on and keep also anticipating for better information from this YouTube channel. So today we'll be talking on something more important to African generally, something new in Africa especially, which is NAFTA, AfTA rather. So I'm quite used to NAFTA, the Northern American Free Trade Agreement. So we have the African perspective on African form of it, which is AfTA, African Continental Free Trade Area. Someone will be joining me to just have kind of good interactive session on that. And this person is not any other person than Dr. Neba Ridley Ngwa. Dr. Neba holds a PhD in international relations from Ankara Bezit, right? Ankara Yildirim Beyazit
Yes, Ankara Yildirim Beyazit
University in Turkey. And, it's also, for so many viewers who will be listening to this video, it might also interest you to know that we are both alumni of Eastern Mediterranean University in northern part of Cyprus, where he actually had his master's degree as well in international relations. So we did our master's together in the same university. I actually did my PhD in Eastern Mediterranean University, but he went further to Ankara Yildirim Beyazit University in Turkey, where he did his PhD. And currently he is a university lecturer in International Relations Institute of Cameroon at the University of Yaoundé too. I guess I'm quite right with that.
Yeah, you're very right.
And currently he's a very busy person because for football lovers around the world, you will know that there is a continental football in Africa that is ongoing. So currently he's also involved with that, and he's serving as a vice president of International Relations Commission for the ongoing African Cup of Nations. For we football lovers, this for the almost last 2 to 3 weeks has been an interesting one, where our national teams, we just even share some kind of enthusiasm about our both national team. I mean, the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Lions, the Teranga Lions of Cameroon, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Lions of
both
Cameroon.
teams are quite doing very well. And we're just hoping that both teams can play onto the final of the tournaments so that they can play each other in the tournament. So Dr. Neba, his research interests include international security and strategic studies, regional integration, foreign policy, and geopolitical analysis. And he has published quite a good number of international scientific studies in good number of journals and a range of policy and newspaper articles, both internationally and locally in Cameroon. And currently, he's also doing some studies, and which also include editing book which is titled Summits, Diplomacy and Emerging Approach of African Strategic Partnership. So he's actually a busy person, both in academic research and in some other aspect of the society. And he has also been a recipient of prestigious awards, which include Presidential Excellence Award for Distinguished Students in Cameroon and Turkish Scholarship Award as well. So, Dr. Neba, you're welcome to With Chat.
Thank you so much, and thank you very much for inviting me, and for your introduction. It's a pleasure and it's an honor for me to be on your platform to share my thoughts with you on issues of African integration. So I'm very much delighted to also exchange our views on this very, very important, sensitive issue that will put forth or trace the path for development in the continent. So without much ado, I think I'll leave back the floor to you, maybe to set the guidelines on how we are going to discuss, so that we just move maybe straight to the discussions.
Okay, Dr. Neba, thank you so much. I really appreciate you offering your time at this very crucial moment where you are currently engaged with the continental football that is ongoing. But it's also of interest to categorically mention that we'll be talking on AfCFTA, but why Dr. Neba? I mean, that might be the question that some viewers might ask. And the reason to that, or the answer to that, I've actually reserved to mention that in my introduction. So I would just say that Dr. Neba was part of the scientific committee for the International Symposium on Africa Continental Free Trade that took place last year, November 2021. So he was part of the scientific committee in that symposium, and talking on African Continental Free Trade area, I believe that Dr. Neba has good information on this new African trade bloc. So, and to just go directly into this discussion, I think it's good for me to give you a platform to give us a general overview, kind of a background on these new trade arrangements among African countries. Thank you so much, Dr. Neba.
Thank you very much, Dr. Andrew. Once more, looking at AfCFTA to give a general overview on what AfCFTA is all about and why does Africa need AfCFTA. So AfCFTA is it's an acronym. It's African Continental Free Trade Area. It's a regional integration initiative that aims to create one of the world's largest free trade area for a population of 1.3 billion Africans that cuts across 55 countries, the 55 countries that we have in Africa. So AfCFTA in itself is a landmark initiative in the continent's process of regional integration that started as far back as in 1991. I'm going to come to that, looking at the process of regional integration when it started in 1991 in Africa with the Abuja Treaty, wherein the different stages of integration were outlined. So with AfCFTA in itself, the free trade area or the agreement for this free trade area was signed in Kigali in Rwanda on the 21st of March 2018. And in that agreement, 44 African countries signed the agreement out of 55. But as of now, 54 African countries have signed the agreement on AfCFTA, which means that they have recognized that they are part and parcel of this agreement, except Eritrea, which has not signed. So this is a positive development for the continent. You look at the great number of countries, and as of now, 38 African countries has ratified, which means they are internal legal proceedings. They have ratified their internal laws, taking into consideration the new modifications of AfCFTA. So which means they recognize now that after the rules of the international laws or treaties on AfTA, the regulations will be binding on them. So we still have some countries, we have 38 of them. So we still have some countries that have not signed the agreement, but they are still in the process of ratifying, that have not ratified. And after this, its secretariat is based in, first of all, we should bear in mind that it is under the African Union. It's a free trade area under African Union, and its secretariat is based in Accra, Ghana, and the Secretary General is, he has a Secretary General called, his name is Wenkele Mene. That is where he is. But looking at AfTA, for us to understand what AfTA is all about, as I earlier on mentioned, the roots of AfTA, we can trace it as far back as in 1991. On the 3rd of June 1991 in Abuja, African countries, they sat together and they signed what we call the famous Abuja Treaty. That is the treaty that defines the process of regional integration in Africa. And in this treaty, 5 main stages of integration were outlined. The first stage has to do with, I'll just outline them, but I'll focus more on the stage that deals with AfTA. So the first stage has to do with the stage of creating regional economic communities. The second stage, regional economic communities, that's where we have Economic Community of West African States. We have 8 of them that were already created. So we already passed, or African countries, they already met the criteria of creating regional economic communities. So we're through with the first stage. We have Economic Community of West African State, Economic Community of East African State, East African Community, so Central African Community. You have a whole lot of them, SADC. So we have these, yes, ECOWAS. We have these regional economic communities. That is the first stage of creating of regional integration in Africa. The second stage has to do with the stage of stabilization of barriers to trade, to make sure that there are certain rules of trade that is common for the continent. And then the third stage has to do with establishing a free trade area. And this is where we are now. AfTA has to do with, that's the third stage. And the fourth stage has to do with the stage of creating a custom union. And then the final stage will be a monetary union and a Pan-African parliament. So with a monetary union, that's the final stage. We'll have a common currency in the continent, and then we'll have a Pan-African parliament. But already the Pan-African parliament had been created as far back as in 2003. So in the last stage, what we just need to do is to create the monetary union, have a common currency. So that's the final stage of regional integration in Africa, as you see in Europe, in the EU as well. We have the EU Economic and Monetary Union. So we are in the third stage, and that is where we are now. The third stage has to do with. And why do we need AfTA? In brief, let me just shed light on this before we move on. So when we need AfTA, because when you look at the percentage of intra-African states compared to other regions, that of Africa is very low. Intra-African state, meaning trade between African countries, is 15%. Meanwhile, you look at NAFTA, North American Treaty Agreement. So you have the trade within this within this community is 61%. That of Europe, or that of Asia, of Europe rather, is 67%. So you realize that there is a major problem within Africa. We have just 15%. So according to statistics from the World Bank, by 2035, is a forecast that African Continental Free Trade Area will boost intra-African trade to 81%. And that will bring in a lot of economic opportunities. It will boost the GDP of the continent. It will increase the bargaining power, and it will place Africa as a global economic force within the globe. So that is why we need this. So I think we can. That's what, in a nutshell, that's what AfTA is all about.
Wow. Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Neba. And reading from some of the guidelines that I find regarding AfTA, and it was, I would really want you to make this correction. That was it that AfCFTA was meant to be on the running by the 1st of January 2021, or what does it imply? That 1st of January 2021. What is the implication of that date? Does that date signify that that is the commencement date? That's because, as you have just clarified now, or just put out now, it seems that the trade activity hasn't actually begun in itself. So if that is true, what is the implication of 1st of January 2021? What does it imply?
Yeah, the 1st of January 2021 is the commencement date that is for the agreement where it took effect, actually. But what we should note here is negotiations are still going on. The agreement has not taken full, it has not gone into its full function. Reason being that some of the negotiations are still going on, but it has already taken effect based on some of the agreements or negotiations that have been arrived at. There are 3 phases of negotiation. So they already completed the first phase. The first phase of negotiation has to do with protocol on trade, protocol on goods and services, that's setting out rules and regulations or guideline on how trade within AfCFTA member states will be organized on goods and services. Trade on goods and services will be done. Even settlement of trade dispute, how will it be done? So they've been negotiations on this. The guideline on this has been well established, and there is what they call rules of origin. I'll come to that. It has been agreed, but it's still not fully completed. But the second part of the negotiation is still going on, which has to do with it deals with issues of intellectual property rights. That is goods that are produced in Africa. What are the guidelines for intellectual property right, investment and competition policy? That's the second phase. And the third phase of the negotiation has to do with e-commerce. So we are in a digital economy. So what are the guidelines for e-commerce? So they will equally need to establish some guidelines for this. So the first phase has been done. It has already, it is in effect. It is like now we have commenced the implementation process based on the agreements, the first phase agreement that we arrived at. But the deadline for the second and the third phase was supposed to be December 2021. That just passed, 31st of December. But this negotiation has been prolonged due to coronavirus. So the outbreak of the pandemic has delayed the negotiation process of this. So as of now, we have not yet had any official report from the AfCFTA Secretariat if the second and the third phase negotiation has been completed for it to
thank you so much, Dr. Neba, for that wonderful explanation, really. For me, also personally, I actually need this form of clarification. You can actually get this form of clarification for only most likely for someone who has an inside information about these new developments coming up from Africa, because you are a member of the scientific committee, so it's quite easy for you to give out such a very relevant information. So one of the things that I think it might be important for people like me and for our viewers to know is that I think it's good we should try to understand what does it actually cover? What does this agreement, African Continental Free Trade, what does it actually cover? And what doesn't it cover per se? For instance, does it cover open border among the African states?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Thanks once more. It's a very important question. So what does the African Continental Free Trade area cover? It means what is the substance of the agreement. Basically, we have the three different phases of negotiation outlines what the agreement covers. Like in the first phase, we have a protocol on goods and services, which means the guidelines on how goods and services within the free trade area will be regulated. And then we have another on settlement of dispute, because of course there will be international trade disputes. So they need to, yes, outline how disputes will be settled. And there is what they call rules of origin. It's very important. I'm going to shed light on that because it's the key of the African continent of AfCFTA lies on the rules of origin. And in the second phase, we have investment and competition policy. So it also covers that. There will be a policy to make sure that external actors, investment and competition. So competition wherein external actors, maybe like China, or they should not flood the market with their products and take advantage. It will not be an opportunity to create a policy space for external actors to take advantage of. And then the third, another issue has to do with e-commerce. We are in a digital economy. So we're talking of a free trade area where goods and services will be more, you will trade without paying custom duty. So when we talk about what are the guidelines for e-commerce within the free trade area, so it also covers that. Basically, that's what it covers. But back to rules of origin, which is one of the key elements, key substance in the agreement. Rules of origin, it determines the nationality of a product within a free trade area. Where a product produced from Cameroon will you will have a tag on it, made in Africa, and with this certification or with this tag, it's possible for the company to sell the product in any part without paying customs duties. So it will be regulated by rules of origin, and the rules of origin is determined by two criteria, wherein one is what they call wholly obtained criterion, or what we call substantial transformation. With the wholly obtained criterion, it means that a good that is produced totally without, that is the process of transformation, extraction, and the processing and distribution, all the stages of production, from extraction stage to the transformation and to the distribution stage, it's entirely from Africa. The resources are from Africa, wholly obtained, which means it is obtained totally from Africa. So you will have, which means that with that, you'll be able to benefit from tariff concession. You will not be able to pay taxes, you'll be able to sell the goods. So it means it is, and already the goods come, it originates from within the free trade area. And then the second one is substantial transformation, which means there is a process of transformation. They recognize that there is need for value addition and to transfer of technology. So, but within this, in order to do this, you should be careful not to create a policy space wherein, instead, when you talk about substantial transformation, most of the goods will be imported from Europe and just assembled here, and then you sell. It will not meet the essence again. So substantial transformation, what is the percentage of value addition? So it requires that 80% of that product, the process of extraction and all whatnot, should come from Africa. So you may just have an additional 15% of 15% input from from external actors. So which means it has been substantially transformed within the free trade area. It now qualifies as a good which originates within the free trade. Yes. So that's what rules of origin are, and it's very, very important. And then back to what it does not contain. It talked about free visa across borders. So does it mean that people will also have to move freely across borders? This is very important, and it is a contentious issue within within the negotiation process as of now, because policymakers, they believe that free movement of people will be a key contributor to the successful functioning of the free trade area. But not all African countries are committed to this concept or to this idea. So there is a process alongside with the negotiations that are currently going on. 30 African nations have signed a protocol for free movement of persons. That is to allow all member states within the AfCFTA agreement to move within their borders freely without obtaining visa.
Without any visa. So,
without obtaining
sorry,
visa.
doctor, can I just pause you? So, so that means that for those, I mean, as it stands now, so it means that for those who want to travel based on non-business related issues, it means they can't travel to any of these African countries. I mean,
no,
as it stands now.
Yes.
With those about 30 countries that are already in the agreement, right?
Yeah, with those 30 countries, they have accepted. But some countries they negotiate, it has not been completed. Some countries have not yet accepted to this agreement. For example, especially you will see most of them are those countries that have the economic capacity and power within Africa. Nigeria is one of those countries that has refused to sign this agreement. That people will not move free from its borders without obtaining visa. South Africa is also another one that have not signed this agreement. So you see, this takes us to one of the challenges of this. There's lack of political will in this whole process. So some countries are still holding their feet behind. But we hope the progress it's progressing. There is free visa agreements, bilateral free visa trade agreements within countries. But now the rate with the coming of AfCFTA, it has increased. 30 African nations have signed the protocol that they accept free movement of persons. Yeah, so which means they seek to create a visa-free zone. Yeah, so that is one of the development that AfCFTA has brought so far.
So yeah, thank you so much. I guess this is a very vital area because I mean, one of the things that is peculiar with African states, I mean African generally, I think we love traveling, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess for myself and the viewers of this program, we also want to know if that is actually included in agreement. But you know, because for Nigeria specifically, for me as an observer, I've been monitoring and reading up, you know, regarding the circumstance. I mean, the situation about Nigeria, about the signing of this agreement. And one of the things I've actually realized that there are in addition to Nigeria, there are other countries that are also foot dragging to sign this agreement, like I think Benin, Botswana, Guinea-Bissau, Zambia, I think some of those countries. So apart from the free visa zone, are there other issues, you know, that we could say are contentious or that are kind of gray areas that are making these countries to foot drag, you know, their decision in signing this agreement?
Yeah, well, these countries, they have signed the agreement, but they have not ratified it.
They're not ratified. Okay, thank you for the
they have not
clarification.
included it in their national laws.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, but they are, as you said, they are contentious issues that prevent these countries from ratifying these laws, and they are gray zones. I'll differentiate between contentious and gray zones. Gray zones is an area wherein it poses a general challenge to every person. But contentious issues, these are areas wherein we have differences in opinions, and due to difference, we differ in our opinions, and we cannot come to an agreement. And because of that, some countries are still not taking the move or ahead to ratify the agreement. And one of them, as I just mentioned, as we spoke about, is this visa-free zone in AfCFTA. That's one of the major contentious issues. Some of these countries that are dragging their feet behind or that are not ratified is because they are scared. They do not want a situation where they will just open their borders freely for movements. Some are for security reasons. Some are still for economic reasons.
Economic reasons.
Economic reasons it's a great motivation behind that. And one other. So that's one of, I think, in terms of contentious issues, that's one of the major issues. But the rules of origin as well is one of a contentious issue. Rules of origin, because some of these countries, they are already members within regional economic communities, and they already have rules of origin. They have some sort of free trade zone, within that, and they have a
working
percentage,
agreement,
working agreement. They have a percentage of trade or of taxes that they do not have to pay. Within that, they are maybe in
like ECOWAS. I don't know of ECOWAS.
Yes. So some of these countries, they know how far they benefit within their regional economic communities, and with as far as rules of origin are concerned. So this is one of the reasons. These are some of the economic reasons that is deterring them. And one of the challenges is that now we have numerous rules of origins. Like there is a problem of lack of harmonization. Because you have ECOWAS has its own rules of origin. You have African Community. So you have these 8 regional economic communities blocks. They have a free trade negotiations that also, but with AfCFTA now, AfCFTA has not really, they've not really harmonized the
all
complex and diverse rules of origin that exist within these regional economic communities. So this brings it there's still differences in opinion. So there's lack of unanimity. So those are some of the contentious areas that we have. Then for gray zone, in terms of gray zone, one of the very, very important gray zone that has to do with that.
I was hoping to ask you a personal question regarding this, because for me, for my country, if I were to be president of Nigeria, for instance, I think in ratifying this agreement would have been a very difficult decision for me, because we have a very, very, very security challenge at hand. So I really want you to talk about that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's one of the major issues that prevents its security, just as you've highlighted. Because the rule of security in the practice of regional integration has always been undermined, of African regional integration has always been undermined. Even generally, both in theory and practice, when you look at both theories of regional integration by David Mitreni and some other scholars, they do not recognize, they think when countries cooperate based on functional economic necessities, that cooperation will spill over to other areas of politics and security. But it is not like that. Security, just as security, there's an interaction between security and the economic cooperation. So it's not something wherein you start from the economic before it spill over. And these countries, you see the process of regional integration in Africa from the Abuja Treaty, they did not appreciate the role that security may play. And this is one of the major areas that we have. Because for the last 2 decades, African countries have adopted a new approach towards security activities, which is security is mostly coordinated through their regional economic communities, like in ECOWAS and some others, and then through the African Peace and Security Council. But the major challenge is that these regional bodies, these regional economic communities and the African Peace and Security Council, they do not have that security architecture, a well-defined security architecture, like you will see with other regional security organizations like NATO. That's a specialized security organization. You have Organization for Security Cooperation in Europe. That's a specialized security organization. So we do not have a well-defined security architecture. And then at times we tend to intervene in security matters based on ad hoc basis. That is based on an ad hoc basis. That is, you intervene in some cases and you do not intervene in others, based on your own personal political interest. But the country or the continent is faced with numerous security challenges, ethnic conflict. You have violent insurgency and radicalization. You have terrorism. And with these forms of, it becomes very difficult for the process of regional, so that it's a serious gray zone. And I think with a lack of a combined regional security approach, it will be very, very difficult. So there is a need for us to have a specialized security organization or regional security body just like NATO, or you have Organization for Security Cooperation in Europe, OSCE, and we really need to step up and to see how these ethnic clashes that we have, these differences that later on become a serious crisis within the region, should be addressed. And I think that's one of the gray zones that we have.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Neba. One perspective that is very interesting that you brought in was in the aspect of having those specialized security organizations as well within the trade zone. And that prompt me to allow you to talk about, make comment about the next area of discussion that I want us to talk about.
Okay.
When you look at NAFTA, for instance, so at the organization level, for instance, is there any form of engagement or collaboration with other trade-like organizations, for instance, like European Union Free Trade Association, NAFTA? So among those these organizations, I mean, at that level, is there do we expect a form of collaboration? You just mentioned about security. You just mentioned about security. So do we expect more of those kind of collaboration among them?
Okay, thank you very much. This is a very, very important and pertinent question for African Continental Free Trade Area. It is important. We call it a Pan-African initiative, which means it is a purely regional or indigenous initiative. But at the same time, there is cooperation, just as you said, with other. There's not been any formal or institutional cooperation with other free trade associations like the European Free Trade Association or the North American Free Trade Agreement. But there is a cooperation with other regional organizations, specifically the European Union. And the European Union has been supporting or has provided financial assistance to the African Union to AfCFTA in itself, to step up the negotiation and implementation process. It may interest you to know that as of now, the European Union provided 74 million euros.
Really?
74 million euros for the negotiation process, negotiation and implementation process of AfCFTA. Yes, so they provide as assistance. So at this stage of negotiation means when stakeholders or policymakers, when they go to sit, there is a budget at each stage that there is an assistance that the European Union has provided from the 74 million euros that it provided. And there is, of recent in September, I can't remember the exact date, but they also provided some funds to help small and medium-sized enterprises within the region to step up their production capacity within the free trade area. So this is what they have provided. But from my own personal perspective, as I said, it's something we need to be very much cautious. We cannot act in isolation. You need to cooperate with other partners. We need to cooperate. We need cooperation. We need to liaise with other regional organizations, with other regional free trade bodies, or with other countries as well. But we must be careful not to create a policy space for external actors to take advantage. This should not be an opportunity for African states to create a free trade, a market wherein external actors will come and sell or produce and trade freely without paying taxes. They will benefit from it and take advantage of it. I'm not saying this is what is happening, but I'm just saying that they need to be careful. We need to be cautious. Our policymakers in the course of the negotiation process should be cautious, because when you ask what is the interest of an external actor providing financial assistance, because he who pays the pipers provides
dictates
determine the tune.
Yeah.
The tune. So this is how it is. So which means he who pays for something will also have exercise control over it. But I'm not saying this is what is happening with African Union. Let me take that disclaimer. African Union has been, European Union has been generous at each stage. I appreciate personally the move to support small and medium-sized enterprises to provide financial assistance.
It's actually true because literally speaking, there is nothing in life or in the world that you see as a form of benefits or that's advantageous that doesn't come with its own challenges. So, so like you said,
but in the context of Africa, as you said, it is a serious issue. Security, drug trafficking, human trafficking, weapons. Because the Sahel region, you have a crisis there. You go to,
and when we talk about mechanism to put those mechanisms, one of the challenge African states like Nigeria will face in its borders, because we know that, I really don't want to say Nigeria is so corrupt, but we know that there is high level of corruption in most African states. So, and those mechanisms will not just run without human. So in as much as you have those surveillance, those mechanisms, you have humans as well. So for you to have free, for you to have a kind of a safe haven, it means we need those individuals that we can say are of high integrity.
Yeah, we need a political will, people who will do things with how there will be trust in the whole system, there will be transparency in the whole system. And I think that's why I raised up the issue of, I think it has to be institutionalized, and we need an organ. Okay. It will not be we need a specialized security organ, maybe like NATO, that will assist after in implementing or in the surveillance or the security along. So at that level, we may manage at least to reduce the level of corruption, because it's not it's not only a problem in Nigeria; it's everywhere.
It's everywhere, continent. Even in other continents, other parts of the world.
Yes, in other parts of the world. So it's something that is within the fabrics of our society, and we really need to fight it.
Yeah. Oh, that is so wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Neba. We've actually taken much of your time. And thank you for at least giving us these moments, because we know how busy you have been, especially in this period of continental football. Nigeria will be playing in a couple of hours from now. I guess you'll be busy as well. So, but really, we are really grateful for sharing your thoughts on AfCFTA, and at least the viewers can have, can have a very reliable information to use or to discuss on. I would really want you to give us your last word, maybe something that is a bit more relieving for those of us, someone like me, that's might not be so much optimistic about AfCFTA. So can you just say, give us your last sentence?
Okay, so once more, before I do that, I would like to appreciate you so much, Dr. Andrew, for creating for this wonderful initiative to share not only knowledge and for us to exchange ideas, and we share our thoughts on burning issues in the continent. So it's an honor for me to be here, and it's a personal pleasure. I'm very, very much delighted, and I'm happy with the highly informative and interactive session that we've had already. And for as a last word, I want just to say that the initiative of African Continental Free Trade Area is a landmark initiative in the process of regional integrations, and it has come to stay. It has significant gains, though it's very clear there will be some price. There's always a price to pay, but I think the benefits that will accrue from this initiative will be more than the challenges. So if we can really step it up I think by 2035, the GDP of the continent will really step up. Will step up our level of trade to, if not 81%, but above that, and it will create a whole lot of opportunities, employment opportunities, and other opportunities for youth in the continent. We are looking towards youth, and that's just it. And I think that's just it. It's sure we'll have challenges, but we'll try as much as we can as to in our own individual ways as intellectuals to carry out research, to provide policy recommendations to stakeholders at regional level on how some of those challenges can be addressed, but we cannot completely shy away from it. We've seen the miracle it has done in North America and in Europe as well. So I just wish that we should embrace it as an initiative that has come for good and to stay. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much, my good friends, and thank you, my brother, for this wonderful time, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on Continental African Free Trade area. It has been a wonderful moment with you, and I really want to assure you that for our colleagues, friends, and who will be watching and listening to this will definitely benefit every one of us. I thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, just one last thing.
Okay.
One last thing for those who watch the video on your YouTube channel and they have any personal or they have questions, they can direct that to you or they can write it down. I will also follow the comments and I can respond to their questions directly.
Yes.
So that's just it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Neba. I was about to put in that across as well. Thank you so much for that. Yes. So please, listeners, I'm really, really impressed, and there is no doubt that for those of you that will be watching this will definitely go a lot of way to inform you about AfCFTA, and for us also as Africans to support our own things and see how our continent can also be turned around in the couple of years to come. So if you have more questions to talk about or reasons to discuss on AfCFTA or some other maybe trade-related issues, foreign issues regarding Africa or some other part of the world, you can also put that in the comments. You can reach me, also reach Dr. Neba. I'm going to put his email where you can actually reach him directly. He's always available. He's foreign, he's a consultant.
Feminine lecturer in International Relations Institute in Cameroon.
Yes. Yes. And he's also policy and international security and strategic study expert as well. So on those related issues, please, you can also reach him. I will make his email available. Thank you so much, everyone. Do not forget that it's our responsibility to come up with information that we find so engaging and interactive enough, especially in this society. So as much of those that we have around us will definitely come up with that. So please, for this one, try as much as possible to share with your friends on the YouTube. It's going to be available on the YouTube. And for my friend and my brother, for subsequent time, please don't hesitate to answer our call when you knock on your door.
It will be a pleasure.
Thank you so much for your time. For everyone, thank you from WeChat channel. It's a pleasure to have you today. Thank you. I remain blessed.